I Before I hand over to Keelan, I just wanted to share a little bit about what we have been doing and some of the things that we have maybe been addressing as well for young volunteers. So one of the main things that we've been focusing on over the past while has been the Millennium Volunteer Programme, and we have decided that we are going to rebrand that. So we're going to change the name and we're going to change the logo and all of the messaging that goes around that. So we have been working with our youth forum to be able to do that. And actually, I'm going to share my screen just to show you some of the work that we have been doing with the youth forum lately. So let me just share my screen and then we'll go from there. Oh, you'll see my niece's drawing of her families while I find this. Let me see. So this is what we have been working with the youth forum. So this was our idea and brainstorming session with our youth forum to start thinking of some names, and this is what we've been doing to consult with them. So we have been asking them for different names or for reasoning behind the programme and why they have been involved. So we don't want to just give it a name for the sake of changing the name. We wanted to have a real meaning behind it. So we have been doing word maps with the group to be able to find some of the key words that really, you know, it's the definition of Millennium Volunteers and it's the reasoning behind it. So we want them to realise that it's a programme of recognition, that it is inclusive, it's about community and it's about ownership for the young people. And it's their own personal commitment as well to the organisation. We want them to feel like it's an approachable programme, and loads of different keywords there that came through just talking with the young people in the youth forum of what they either believe the programme is or what they would like it to be in the future as well. So this was just the word map example. So I'll move down to what the youth forum were doing, and this was just playing around again with some of the different wording around Millennium Volunteers. So we want it to be empowering, we want it to be a positive experience, we want it to be a bit of crack, we want them to enjoy themselves while they're doing the programme, but also realise how rewarding it is and realise the skills and the qualities that they develop as well. And we want them to know that it's a real community programme as well, so that they are not only in a Millennium Volunteer Programme community, or whatever the name will change to be, but also the impact that they have within their community or within their school, their youth organisation or their charity shop. We want all of this to be included in the programme. So then we started going on to name storming, and these were a couple of examples that we were provided. But what we did, these were some of the names that the group came up with. So we had Community Makers, we had Youth Impact Awards, we had the LU Awards, the Positive Action Volunteer Enterprise, so PAVE Awards, one that I can never pronounce, the Ikigai Awards, I think it is. So these were just a couple of names that came through brainstorming with the Youth Forum, and what we have done then for the Youth Forum who weren't able to make it, we have sent it to them to get some feedback, and we have also sent this to our partners as well to be able to see what we're going through in the process that we're going through to rename this. And then we shortlisted it to the youth forum. These are the top 3 that the youth forum chose. They like community creators because they believe that they're making an impact and creating a community when they volunteer. The Youth Impact Awards just says what it is on the tin. It is a programme that recognises the impact that young people have. And then Empower You, recognising the programme, how it empowers young people to give back within their community and to make a difference as well. So these are the top 3 that we have gone with, unless we get lots of different names through the Youth Forum or organisations. These are our top 3, and then we will move on with the process in terms of narrowing it down to the one, and then meeting again just to go through the branding of the programme. So this is what our youth forum has been involved in, and one of the ways that we have been able to carry out volunteering for young people throughout a pandemic. So it hasn't stopped. The youth forum, like every other organisation and group, has adapted and met online, and we've been able to then work with the group to do this. So that is the big thing that we have been working on. The other thing that we have been doing is because information stands aren't going on and organisations aren't necessarily going into schools or universities, and we don't have as much engagement and contact with young people, looking at how we can advertise opportunities. And one of the ways that we have been trying to be more creative is creating videos to raise awareness of what the Millennium Volunteer Programme, or opportunities that they might want to volunteer, and realize, or giving them that opportunity to see the different opportunities that are out there. We've also done this through our website and through Be Collective as well. So we have been able to encourage organisations to put their opportunities onto Be Collective to then advertise to young people all throughout Northern Ireland who want to volunteer, but they're not really sure how to start. By advertising on Be Collective, it allows them to see what they might be involved in, how many hours they could be involved in, whether it's online, some of the safety measures that are in place as well. But like I said, we have been looking at different ways to address the fact that we can't go into schools and youth organisations. So we have been creating videos, and the first one that I suppose that we have created was an introduction to Millennium volunteers and to Volunteer Now, and showing the impact that volunteering can have. And then we were able to send this to the likes of Belfast Met or Cirque and different organisations that might have their virtual fairs, or to schools then who aren't having us in for assemblies, but are then able to share this with the young people. So just to give you an idea of what that video looks like, again, I'm just going to share my screen and show you, and hopefully it works. But here we go. So there we go. So that is what we have created to give to organisations and to youth groups, so that because we can't go into the centre or to the school, we still want them to know of the opportunities that are available to them. And what we'll be really interested in hearing today is maybe how some of you have been able to either advertise for volunteering opportunities, and this is where Keelan comes in as well to share just a little bit about what they have been doing in terms of working with young volunteers over the past couple of months. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Keelan.
No worries, thanks, Nicola. So I suppose one of the main things that myself and the young men that I've been working with have been involved in over the past couple of months was a bag pack. This came around through one of the local councillors in the Katy area. They wanted to do a food bank for the elderly people in the community that can maybe not get out to the shops, or were maybe vulnerable to COVID and things. So myself and the Katy young men came together as a group of volunteers and packed together food bags essentially and gave them out till the elderly members and vulnerable members of the community. As part of this went on for maybe, I think it was 14 weeks we'd done this, from the middle of March right up until January time, or July time, sorry. Also, another person, one of the members of the council, had been in touch with the Seniors Network, the Armagh Seniors Network, and they wanted to put together some activity packs for the elderly people around the borough council, and the Keady young men had to put together them, and they were actually distributed out towards all the elderly across the council as well. The young men had also been involved in litter picks, and this was something they had actually come up with themselves. They enjoyed getting out and doing some stuff outside. They weren't really doing well with the whole Zoom calls and things, so they actually wanted to get out, and I think it was basically just to get out for a few hours together, but they wanted to make a difference in their community, and they seen that because of the whole lockdown, when the restrictions were eased a bit, a lot of the other younger people around the town had been out and drinking. Seemed to be a bit of an issue with litter and things up around the local pitches and stuff, so the young men seen this as an issue, and done a few litter picks. We've also been providing some OCN level 2 training, so the young volunteers on it at the minute have been going out doing their sessions with some of the local youth groups as well. And then just generally, we've had a couple of volunteers that have been with us for a long time that help volunteer with these young men's groups and stuff as well. But that I suppose had a big impact on the community, the whole bag pack and litter picks, because it showed that they were actually out actively making a difference in their community, you know.
No, that's great to hear. And the group that you were working with then, were they participants of your program beforehand, or did you recruit them during this process, or how did you get to know the group that you were working with?
A lot of them had been involved in the Keady Young Men's group. They were the ones that had helped out with the backpack and stuff, but they had actively put themselves forward. It was only a suggestion at the start to see if maybe they were interested in helping out, but they had put themselves forward saying, listen, I'm open to giving a bit of a handout on a Wednesday morning. So I had that relationship, I suppose, already built up with them, and because involved doing a lot of stuff with us, it was easy to get them involved. And then again, the litter picks, that's something that they came up with themselves and they put it to me. I just went away and got them gloves and bags and litter pickers and things like that off the council, but it was them that sort of made the point of getting engaged. We had only put the sort of the idea in their head of maybe do they want to help out with the food banks and stuff, but like I say, it was completely up to them. We just helped supervise it and make sure it ran okay.
No, you know? Yeah, great to hear. I don't know, not to put you on the spot, Keelan, but I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything you'd like to just ask.
Yeah, no, work away.
Keelan, are those young men still involved then? Were they able to recruit any other of their friends to join in the group in terms of their volunteering?
Yeah, so the young fellas, the Keady group's still going. They're actually involved in a new project at the minute with a colleague of mine, but because of the impact that they've done with the bag packing, and they had been meeting again with myself, just doing a bit of group work in the sort of the middle of that, they'd got another few of their friends involved, and some of their friends had actually taken part in the litter picks. So it was good to see that they weren't just coming. They were coming to make a difference, essentially. They were obviously coming because we would have good old crack together. They were coming for the crack, and then obviously they knew their friends and stuff were there too, but they were coming to actually help out and to be, involved in doing something as well. So it was good to see.
What about the social distancing?
Sorry, Jane. Sorry. Just wondering what the age range of the group was, Keelan?
14 till 19. It's a bit of a weird one. There have been a couple of the older fellas that are still involved. We would see them as volunteers. They're the sort of peer leaders within the group, but it was 14 up till 19.
was asking Killen about just all the COVID restrictions and the social distancing and PPE and all of that type of thing. And, you know, I know that that's part and parcel of what you do, but in terms of the young people's acceptance of it, and was there much policing of it in terms of your role and that of the other youth action workers in terms of having to make sure that they did adhere to it, and, you know, and that whole sort of anxiety amongst workers in terms of saying they have to police that kind of additional restrictions on people?
That was something actually we thought that was going to be a bit of a nightmare, because I knew the lads and knew sort of what way they get on. Normally they'd be wrestling with each other and everything, so we thought we were going to have a big issue with that, especially when we were doing the food banks indoors. There was a big hall and there had been a couple of volunteers from the local community as well as the young men coming in, so we had to be very wary at the time of how we were going to manage it. But the young men, credit them, they were brilliant. We had a good conversation beforehand, and we sent letters and stuff out to parents and done a risk assessment and things like that. So everything was well planned. Obviously, you can plan things and they can go wrong on the day, but no, they done brilliant. They were well spaced out. They came in, they put their gloves, aprons, masks and things on, and it was no issue. And we were there on most days. We were there for the guts of a good hour, an hour and a half, and the fellas kept the masks on the whole time. But where it was all about that relationship with them, and sort of the prep we done beforehand, letting them know of what was going to happen on the day, and then we just sort of supervised it. But like I said, they just sort of went in it on their own and sort of cracked on with it. There was no issues at all. And the same with the bag packing, it was outside, so obviously could have met more of them outside at the time. Everything was well spaced out, the proper gloves and everything, hand sanitizer, the likes of that, but everything was well managed. I didn't have to tell them too much. Sort of, they wanted to be there and they wanted to be involved, so they knew what they had to do, you know.
I suppose one of the perks of it, because that's how I had come across and found out what you were doing, was because of the social media and because of the pictures and the really good press that you got from it too, which I suppose has boosted youth action in that area, particularly in the kiddie area, hasn't it?
No, the social media, everything for that's been brilliant. And like I say, we share nearly everything we do on Facebook and Twitter, but it was also nice to see the likes of the local councillor, Dora McNally, sharing some things, and then the Armagh Seniors Network, and then we had a post up in Armagh as well about the work we'd done, so it was great to get some of the publicity out there. And the young men love it too. They were commenting, liking everything they'd seen themselves up on, so it was great for them too to be seen. They're actually doing something positive in the community for a change, because the likes of them young men were used to getting negative criticism at one time, so it's really, really positive to see, and that's what we like to do as part of some of our projects, getting out and doing some of that social action. You know, it's brilliant.
Anybody else got any questions for Keelan? I know I've kind of hogged Can I take us back a wee minute, Nicola, to the Millennium Volunteers programme and the whole rebranding? I know that Youth Action and a few of the other partners here are Millennium Volunteer members as well too. But I just want to get your reaction in terms of that whole rebranding and of the Millennium Volunteers programme, and I know Jamie's here in terms of Be Collective as well too. So I just want to get your thoughts. Have you seen that information coming out from Nicola? And
I can't say I haven't seen it out yet. That would have been the first heard of it today. But then again, I've been in a bubble for the last week or so. We have a conference starting at the start of October, so it probably is my own fault. But nothing's come out to me.
it was only sent out in this last week, wasn't it, Nicola? So it's only very recent, actually. Yeah, we did do a lot of consultation with groups with our MV partners last year, and I suppose into the year before, where it came out really strongly that young people didn't recognise what the Millennium Volunteer Programme was all about in terms of the name Millennium Volunteers. They didn't recognise themselves as millennials, and that they didn't understand where it had come from, and that they wanted it to be online. They wanted to be more accessible. And with discussions with organisations too, some of them felt that the colours in the branding weren't friendly in terms of those people with a disability, and that we needed to refresh it and bring it into the new age rather than having it in the 2000s. And that's kind of where the discussions have come from. So with Be Collective coming on board, and we thought that it was a good opportunity to start those conversations in terms of how we could have an online version of the award and bring it and kind of meet those young people's needs as it was. So it is it only went out to partners late last week. So if you want us to send it again, we will certainly do that. We would love to have the thoughts and opinions of our partner organisations and of your young people within those organisations to see what they think, and if they come up with something that's a wee bit inventive. Sometimes it's hard to be very creative, and particularly if you're sitting on a Zoom call, it's probably even more difficult, particularly for young people, to be creative and come up with ideas and shout those ideas out and things. So we would love to have your views on that.
Can I ask, Nicola, the video that you showed us, is it available on the Volunteer Now website, or can we get access to it?
Yeah, I can. It's on our social media pages.
Okay.
I need to check if it's on the website. I think it is. But also I can try and send it to you. Some email addresses have had issues when I've sent it, and I've had to just send it a couple of times and it's been fine. I don't know if it's maybe just the size of the video. But it's on our social media pages. But if you do want it specifically, I will work at sending it out to you by email, and then if I come up against issues or whatever, I'll figure a way then to share it with you another way.
Yeah, no, because I work in a school as well, and I think it would be brilliant for sixth formers even to see that video. They do a lot of public service stuff as well, and maybe they just don't get what volunteering is. So I think it was very catchy and it was straight to the point, and I think it'd be good.
I've sent everyone a wee link there for it, Nicola.
Thank you, Jamie.
Brilliant, thank you.
Karen, just picking up on that, in terms of how we get opportunities out, so how we support organisations like yourselves and others around the room in terms of promoting volunteering opportunities, or how we encourage young people to think about volunteering, particularly at this time. We're looking for suggestions and ideas in terms of how we get those messages out. So say, for example, Keelan, your group of young men, and how we encourage them to get involved in other volunteering opportunities now that they've had a really good experience through what they've been doing so far. And I know they're busy with yourselves, and I'm not going to poach them for other organisations, but it's just that kind of thinking on what would work. But one of the things that we had thought of was kind of doing a wee like an ebook or a PowerPoint presentation just with different types of opportunities. So if they were looking for something, they could have something that was coming out that was quite dynamic on a regular basis, say every month or 2 months, that we're taking opportunities from our database that they could register and apply for. But we didn't know whether that was something you would think would be useful, or...
Yeah, we would an idea to have a Facebook page or something for that, about different events coming up, because one way I find very useful getting in touch with the young men I'm working with is through Facebook. And I know not everyone has Facebook or uses Facebook, but I think it's a very good visual way, especially for the likes of the wee shirt, for young people to see that. And then for those that don't, you always have the idea of maybe their friends getting in touch with them and saying, here, look at this, or them showing them this. I think it's just a really good way of getting the message out. Maybe thought of that or not. Especially for that wee paper about volunteering opportunities, every so often if they see a post on Facebook, that's a lot of way that they'll be looking out. Because I was even talking to some young men about them applying for jobs, and the best way they seem to see jobs to apply for is through social media, the likes of Facebook.
We do have the Volunteer Now Youth Facebook page that would post opportunities up, as well as the main Volunteer Now page would have. And sometimes I find with the Facebook that they move quickly, so you need to scroll down.
Yeah.
Definitely, because I would find myself looking on your website a lot, to see Obviously, there's not been a lot recently, but, you know, in the past few years, there would have been a lot more opportunities for the young people. And would you ever think of linking with the likes of the Duke of Edinburgh Awards scheme or anything? Because I know our young people would, a lot of them would do that, the Duke of Edinburgh, and part of that section is, you know, they have to do volunteering and offer a service either for 3 months or 6 months. And I would have went on to see, you know, what you've offered, and then went and told the young people, you know, this is just something different, because, you know, very often they do the same things all the time. So it's nice just to see what opportunities are there.
We have talked to Duke of Edinburgh over the years in terms of just letting them know that, or asking them to let their facilitators, I don't know what you call them, but know that our website is there to find volunteering opportunities if they want for their young people. The difficulty is that 14 to 16-year-olds, which is really difficult in terms of the Duke of Edinburgh and finding meaningful volunteering opportunities for those young people. And that's where the likes of Caitlin's project is really good for those younger ones, because it does give them that supportive environment. The same with the formal youth clubs and things in the churches.
Jane, sorry, we had a few technical difficulties getting on. Myself and Rosie are here. We would, as part of the Millennium volunteer program, we would always say that we link, so say you're doing volunteering as part of your Duke of Edinburgh award, we would say then that crosses over and you use those hours to make up in your Millennium volunteers, and vice versa. We also use it for, if you're doing the John Moore Award or the President's Award or Gashcock or whatever, we would say that those hours can be crossed over, and you can bring them across to whatever program it is that you're doing in relation to volunteering.
I guess, I suppose for the church-based organisations, you know, and the likes of Duke of Edinburgh and stuff, what I would suggest too is being, you know, familiar with youth organisations that's in your area. We'll never turn away a volunteer. We'll take anybody that's going. I think there's a stigma maybe attached to volunteer that it's, you know, it's only for late teens or adults. We start our volunteers from year 8 as junior volunteers, and we then train them to be the 16, 17-year-olds that we can, you know, use for more. But it's about starting them. I guess it's about giving the young people an ownership and making them feel part of their club and benefiting the club. But definitely, you know, research youth organisations that's in your area, because I can't see any of them, you know, turning away volunteers that's going to come as part of Duke of Edinburgh or any organisation. I know if we're in your area, hook us up, because we have a base of about 20 year 8 plus young people that we're working with at the minute, and have been all year. It's not just specifics. They're with us all year, volunteering, and it's been a steady flow of programs and activities we've been doing with them since lockdown. Things like a graffiti project, OCN level 2 in vocational skills. What else we've done? We've done that much at the minute. We've started a new sports health and wellbeing project with them at the minute. We did a youth leadership program just prior to lockdown. We done maybe 14 weeks on Zoom. Everything from crosswords, the quizzes, the computer games. But it's about building relationships and giving them opportunities and making them feel a part of the club, and a wee bit of self-worth in the club. And you'll be surprised, you know, just how much they take that and run with it. But it's about just making sure that there's people in your area and being aware of the youth clubs in your area that you can touch base with. It's going to be hard for volunteer now to do everything for everybody. Yeah. So we're all there to help each other. So by all means, take a wee look at some of the youth and go and speak to some of the youth clubs in your area. I'm sure they'll only be too happy to take your young people on board.
Brilliant, thank you.
Andrew, just in relation to COVID and your youth club, I know you mentioned things that you were doing online there, but challenges in terms of volunteer involvement going forward. What are you doing to try and mitigate against those? So I'm thinking about the challenges, yeah, in terms of that volunteer involvement and keeping those volunteers. Take it you're doing some face-to-face work.
Yes, well, we started our face-to-face work back in early July.
Right.
So I suppose like everybody, we got to the stage where Zoom was getting a wee bit hard. Don't get me wrong, they've carried on 8 weeks. Literally just Monday night past, we finished with the Bites project, an OCN level 2 vocational skills, which was online. But we did a 3-week graffiti project just recently here in the centre, based outside, obviously. It hasn't been easy, let's be honest. Young people don't want to wear face coverings, but they have to. They don't want to social distance, but they have to. We have done various projects. We're currently running 2 Mugga Games sessions on a Tuesday night with the local ABC Council coaches up at our Mugga. Where we've currently, as I said, just started a sports health and wellbeing project that's being done outdoors as well with ourselves and RA rural staff here at SSYCC. And it's not easy, but it's about just keeping that contact with them and about trying to make sure there's something for them, because I suppose there's nothing else going on at the minute for young people. And you'll be surprised just how many people sign up to these projects. We've been overwhelmed by numbers, and obviously with the COVID restrictions, we're only allowed so many per session. So we've had to put extra sessions on, and in some cases, we've had to turn young people away because we just can't physically, cope with the numbers. It's an ongoing struggle. It's something that's new to us all. And it's about trying to make sure that as an organisation, we have everything put in place with risk assessments and with all we can do with PPE and stuff to make sure the young people and ourselves as staff are safe. But let's not kid ourselves, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but it's a challenge that we all face.
Is Richie still working with you?
Yes, Richie's part of the iRural project, yeah.
No, it's just suppose now is an opportune time just to see how you got on with in the very initial stages of the Be Collective launch and then COVID. I met with Richie and goodness, I don't know who the other person was, but the idea was that they wanted to get your young people to sign on to Be Collective and use it in terms of having a personal profile for the social CV. I'm not sure how much you know about that, about how they can put in their past experience, their current experience, etc., and actually print off like a social record, a social CV. I was just wondering, did you just end up doing that as a project, or?
I think you're speaking about my colleague. It's another Andrew. It's Andrew McCreary. He's sitting beside me here.
Oh yes, yes, Andrew. Sorry, yes.
Andrew would have been the other guy that you've met. So we've got an iRural project that runs under the banner, I suppose, of SSYCC as well. The amount of work that they do, I'd have to be honest, Jimmy, I can't keep up with all they're doing. Andrew could answer that question, better than me, to be honest. There's no point me trying to clutch at straws here.
It's just out of interest, and it's to put it out there to other people, just that if anyone here isn't familiar with Be Collective, please do get in touch with me, because basically there is a whole project there that you can get your young people to register. It's all completely free. Set up their personal profile, which will allow them to look for and apply for opportunities, but also print off and have a social record, a social CV, which is it is very impressive looking. It's fantastic. And that's what Richie with Scott Street had talked to me about months and months ago, because they didn't know what to do with the young people. And he thought, you know what, let's get them all around their phones and their computers, get them registered, get their profiles set up, and they'll have a social CV they can print out. So anyway, get in touch.
You're getting two Andrews for the price of one now, so it's not the first time it's happened. Do you want to direct that, Jamie, just to Andrew, if he could maybe answer that for you? Or?
Is Andrew there? Is it?
Yeah, he's just here beside me.
Oh, Andrew, hey, sorry, I was on a different screen there. Andrew, I was just wondering, do you remember you and Richie and I talked months and months ago about you were, I have to say, extremely proactive, because you had the launch of Be Collective, then you had the whole COVID thing a couple of months later, and straight away you guys were on the phone saying, right, well, we'll get our young people together, get them registered in Be Collective, get them a personal profile so they can have a social CV and they can start recording what they're doing, etc., etc. Anyway, it was literally just to mention that to other people so they know that they can do that. But I was just wondering how you get on.
Yeah, well, obviously, like everything else, it was more challenging than we thought, just with circumstances, nothing to do with Be Collective itself. I know, like, Richie had taken basically the concept of Be Collective out around the different groups that we were working with, and had done a session with them, an interview. Volunteering over the past 6 months, so it's been quite hard to build that. But we fully intend to go back to use that again as a platform to kind of bring people together on. So we definitely seen the benefit on it. So yeah, there's an awareness in our area about it, but there's not loads of profiles built on it just yet. But we'll definitely be coming back to that. Cheers.
Thank you, Andrew. Can I just ask Martine and April and Ashley, just from that voluntary sector point of view, in terms of youth volunteering engagement and the challenges or successes, or what we can learn or how we can support?
Hi. Well, to be honest, we haven't done very much, because I was actually to help out with our supported living services. So we're only really getting up and running, and we've had quite a lot of structure change as well. My role has changed now. I'm more community. I would have been the volunteer coordinator for the services and would have helped in other programs within our team. But now my role has changed because there's been a structure change as well throughout the organisation. So I'm now a community volunteer coordinator. So now we have a few different roles. We have like Can Do program, which supports young adults, well, children from the age of, I think maybe 14 right up to the age of 30. That's the Can Do program. That's where the Can Do coordinator works with youth groups or schools, and they would develop certain programs. They've done amazing. They've done a lot of homeless projects. They've done a lot of hate crime murals, because we have a disability hate crime advocate. They've also done quite a lot, so we can certainly pass on more information about that program. But the new one, their pilot scheme, which is happening in Belfast, it's Change Makers. So it's working with young people to do a lot of different areas around in campaigning. So this could be, if they're interested in campaigning, it's whatever topic is interest to them, but they get skills on how to report, how to do videos, things like that. I can send more information about Change Makers. We also have a new social action role, which this is quite a lot of activities. This could be one of the projects I came up with was linking generations, so linking older people and younger people together. That can be done from home. The same with the Change Makers, but the Can Do program is quite out and about in the community doing a lot of things. So Michael is our Can Do coordinator program, but I work for the services and outside the services, so my role has changed quite a bit. I can go down as far as my role has changed from Belfast right down to the south of Northern Ireland, so I can certainly go to any area now. It can be Armagh, it can be just, I'm not too good with areas, but I'm not held just now to Belfast, whereas before I was. So so the Change Makers role is really, really good, but what I'm looking to get out of that would be maybe through time, they link in with our supported living services. We support adults with physical disabilities, acquired brain injuries, alcohol addiction related brain injuries, quite a large range of clients we support. So it's maybe at the end of the program they do maybe a team building day where they come into the service. They could certainly maybe do a quiz, or they could do gardening. It just depends on what they want to do. It's just having that interaction with adults with disabilities. So there's quite a lot that can happen. It's just we're only starting now to get up and running again. I just stepped into that new role on the 3rd of August. So there's lots of opportunities if anybody would like more on those roles. Certainly, I'm looking to set up a focus group for children with disabilities as well. I have a questionnaire if anybody's interested. I just need the minimum of 5 participants. It can be done on Zoom. It could be done just sending the questionnaire out. Zoom might be better to give them more information, but it's looking at to see what people want, what people would want in their area, and how can we support them to help deliver those projects within their community. So we have lots of Change 100, which works with anybody that wants to go to university, but we help them set up that program. We also have a digital inclusion coordinator. Come from January onwards, they're going to be able to go out in the community and deliver projects. we have working in partnership with Disability Action, where we have like an IT suite as well. But good about the Disability Action, I'm not sure whether or not that's held just to that one group, but the digital inclusion program coordinator, she can certainly work with different groups, and there's a bit of funding there too. Maybe she could supply equipment to learn new things as well. So there's quite a lot that we can certainly work in partnership with everybody. So if anybody likes more information, let me know and I can pass it on. There's just too much. As I say, I've been redeployed to help out in the services. I was a support worker for a time being, and I enjoyed it. Very, very hard and challenging, but I came from that background, support work and team lead role. So you know, it wasn't new to me, and it was lovely being back and helping the services out. But I'm really, really glad to be back into my own role. Yes, COVID's caused a lot of issues for everybody, but things aren't impossible. It's about everybody staying positive, making sure we stick to all the infection control. Everything is recommended, keeping each other safe. But I just, you know, I was working in partnership with the youth in a youth group. I went to one of the youth conferences, so we went along to that, and we were speaking about carers. So it's looking at that as well, young carers themselves, you know, if they are the main carer for their parent, if a parent with a disability. So it's looking at open up conversations that way, that there is a lot out there for the youth to do. It's just making sure they're signposted in the right direction, because young children, I think it's a lot to ask of them, but then young children don't mind taking on that role. But it's what we can do to support them as well. So there's quite a lot. There's too much. I could keep talking all day, but I'd like to give somebody else a chance. I can certainly pass. I have loads of ideas, particularly.
Martine, if you see in the chat there that Charlie from Rainbow, that's the Samsung Galaxy, has put in her email address, if you would want to.
Yes. Yep.
And then if you want to share it with us too, then we'll share it with everybody as well, if that's helpful.
I will indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, because one of the things that you touched on there was one of the things that I was going to mention, which is the digital inclusion. Sorry, I'm April Dalzell, and I am with the Sea Cadets in Northern Ireland. Sorry, I'll come back to digital inclusion in a minute. Well, one of the things that I would have loved more information on, we literally only got the go-ahead to return to boating outdoor activity 2 weeks ago. So far we've only held 4 sessions, 2 last week, 2 this week, or 2 another this week. And navigating the minefield of guidance that there and regulations and all to do with how to return safely, that it would have been great if there was some help available for that, because I've spent the last 3 months bogged down in reading. I mean, God, it's probably about that height by the time you go through all the governing body stuff. And I appreciate, you know, that probably nobody here, I'm certainly not, is an expert in the RYA guidance or the British Canoe Union guidance or whatever, but how to get that as a youth group and to tie in, particularly between the Education Authority and the Executive, because obviously there's different rules in place for educational settings, and that thankfully is what we come under. But just trying to tie all that together, because that is what the biggest delay has been. I could have had kids out in the water right across Northern Ireland in July, as soon as the major lockdown lifted, but we couldn't. We only got the go-ahead in the middle of September, by the time all the regulations were up. So to me, there's like nearly 10 weeks wasted, and now it's too cold to get the kids out properly, you know.
I agree.
Yeah, so that would have been a great thing. But you know, and going forward, hate that phrase, but anyway, going forward. You know, things are changing every other flipping day. So even, you know, if there was some sort of assistance for the smaller youth groups or whatever, to, you know, who don't, we have no paid staff whatsoever. Everybody's a volunteer. And it's difficult just coordinating all that. But the other thing, and where I found volunteer now have been excellent in the past, is signposting for collaboration with other youth groups. Again, I probably could have accessed a lot more funding if I'd had the contacts to collaborate with other groups in our area. Now, I've been through all the usual umbrella community groups and things, but again, their unlimited staffing and stuff too. And, you know, it's hard to know just who's actually open, who's out there, who wants to get back but can't afford to get back. And if there was something somewhere, a database where, oh, there's the Sea Cadets, they're looking kids between 10 and 15, because again, you know, our membership has fallen off a wee bit because you don't join the Sea Cadets. It's not, you know, you join the Sea Cadets to be a Sea Cadet, to be on the water, not do an education module via Zoom. We're not the Open University. We haven't had kids on the water. So our membership has dropped off. But, you know, I'm looking at all these people here now, and Keelan particularly, because I've heard he has young men now. So I'm thinking, you know, oh, great youngsters, you know, but that sort of thing, again, I would like for the Sea Cadets to jump on board with what you were talking about there with, you know, just a needs register, and this is how we can help, or we're offering this. Do you fancy coming in with us? Yeah. And then the final one was the digital inclusion. And again, probably just like everybody else here, we had great uptake at the start with the Zoom, and then we realised it was falling off, and we thought kids were zoomed out. And we asked the parents, and actually then that's where the whole digital poverty aspect came in, because, you know, it's all right for all us flipping volunteers that IT provided for you and all the rest of it. But when you're on one mobile phone with a 2 gig data plan in the house for all the kids, nobody's going to waste the data on a flipping scavenger hunt on a Tuesday evening, you know.
Yes.
So
yeah, linking in with our can-do coordinator as well, he would be really a great benefit as well, because obviously, yes, a lot of the children would have to have a disability in order to be supported, but, you know, there could be 5 or 6 in the group. But, you know, a disability goes quite wide. It could be mental health, and that's where my passion lies, you know, building on people's mental health and their well-being. So linking up with him as well. So the digital inclusion person could also, you call her Debbie, so she could also link in with Michael. So they both have their own funding as well. So, you know, if Michael's doing any projects, it could be even like doing a mural in a certain area, which he's done quite a lot of. So it could be something like that. But the partnership with him would be amazing as well. He's very knowledgeable in his role, but the opportunities you could do, you know, deliver with him in partnership would be amazing. So I'll pass your details on to him as well, if you don't mind.
Definitely do, because I'm actually looking, I also work with TWN, Training for Women Network, and obviously they're doing the women's tech, and they're doing the past project with young women, but trying to find a 16 to 24-year-old NEET these days, they're like gold dust. Because everybody's passed this year. But
the other thing, April, I would say is obviously you're at a bit of a disadvantage that you can't take your young people out onto the water. And that's what your cadets are there for. But we also found that over, you know, during all this time, that the young people just want to meet, and they just want to get out of the house and just have a safe space to do their TikToks and all these things that they're doing, and, you know, just to meet together. So we just did something as simple as meeting together to have a barbecue, and they all turned up on the outdoors, and, you know, they all had great fun. And even when we do put the projects on, the graffiti projects and these, you know, all the other like senior sports programs that we're putting on, we find that half the time they're just clumping together doing TikToks and, you know, just having fun. So maybe don't, for all of us, not to be thinking, you know, too expansive for now, and just think more about the relational side of things, of how we can, you know, build relationships with them and get them out of the house and make them feel part of being a young person again, I suppose, you know. So
that's where I was kind of going with the collaboration aspect, you know, not just from the funding thing. I mean, Sea Cadets, yes, the major part is being on the water, but we do loads of other stuff as well. A lot of our kids, believe it or not, go into catering. So we've got a very good catering instructor, but there's so much that we do: catering, meteorology, marine engineering, flipping Duke of Edinburgh, hill and mountain leaders, you know, and we equip them with qualifications that is going to get them something, not in Bombardier or wherever traditional source of employment there is.
I'll link up with you with our young people if you want to cater for
brilliant
us. You know, only too happy if you want to bring the cadets down and they cook us all food and all. I'm only too happy to partner up with you. Like.
No, well,
Just doing
the
your own.
prize winner was hidden vegetable moussaka. I have to say, you'd have been a brave one to eat it. But anyway, he came second place nationally. But there you go.
Sounds good.
But yes, no, I would love to. Like, we are just looking now, because we can't rely on what traditionally we offered because it's too complicated. You know, we need the kids, as you say, together, and that's why mainly I want to link up with other groups, just for the social aspect for the kids. I've 3 or 4 in one unit in particular that's really struggling at the minute, and we're all volunteers. It's hard to witness and be powerless to do too much about. So yes, please is the answer for me.
Is there anyone else wants to share some final thoughts? I know we've hit our 3 o'clock time limit that we had said that we would keep you today, but is there anyone else who wants to share any thoughts? We will, the recording will be on YouTube, and we will send it out to everybody along with contact details. Some have been shared there as well, but we will share them too.
I'm just going to type my email address in if anybody wants to email with anything at all. I'm up for it. Well, I'm volunteering with cadets, not necessarily me.
Nicola will also send out the Millennium volunteers that we document that she shared, and the link to the video. As Jamie said, is on our website. And if you've got any ideas in terms of then how we encourage, we will have a look at Facebook again, Kaylin, and how we tag people maybe in terms of getting it out to your young people and other young people as well too, in terms of other volunteering opportunities. And if anybody's interested in Be Collective and how they promote volunteering opportunities to increase their numbers of volunteers, then we'll do that as well. But great networking. Thanks very much for all of the input today. Nicola, do you want to finish off?
Yeah, just to say thank you again for everyone sharing that, you know, it can be really isolating working from home, or, you know, not working with the people that you're usually working with, or being able to host networking sessions with different youth workers and different organisations and stuff. So it's just been great just to hear what other organisations are doing, and just even things that we're maybe able to incorporate or, you know, bring into the work that we're doing. So thanks so much everyone for sharing. Like Jane said, we'll share all of this, and hopefully you've got email addresses there and stuff that we can keep in touch with. So thank you very much everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.